Suad, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome, benvenuta.
Ahlan, ciao. Grazie Paola, sono contentissima di vederti. Da Ramallah fino a Torino.
Grazie per aver accettato il nostro invito.
Sono onorata.
And then we will shift to English because we will do this interview in English. Suad, you published very recently, few days ago, your book on Jaffa. It has a very complicated title, as always, Storia di un vestito inglese di una mucca ebrea. We will call it un abito inglese e una mucca ebrea. Vedi, I did a mistake. We will call it in English suit. So to run our interview in English. You published a lot of books, and you chose also sometimes to publish the books in Italian before other languages. Mm-hmm. They are books that are your literary journey through your cities, and in this case, your journey arrived to Jaffa. You started with the city where you live, also now in Ramallah, where you are in lockdown inside your home. Mm-hmm. You wrote about Jerusalem, where you are denied to entry and to live. You wrote about Damascus. Damascus is the city of part of your family, your maternal part. And now Jaffa. Jaffa, that is Arusa al-Bahar, the bride of the sea. What is Jaffa for you? Why you chose to write a book on Jaffa? And what is Jaffa for Palestine? For Palestine then and for Palestine now?
Well, thank you, Paola. I'm very happy to talk about my new book, The English Suit and the Jewish Cow. As you said, always my titles are a little bit strange or controversial. True, I started with Jerusalem in Golda slept here, Golda ha dormito qui, then Damascus, the city that really I was born in and it formed me, and Jaffa, the city where my father is from. I always say that, you know, there was a very strong presence of Damascus for me as a city, because my mother was from Damascus. I spent my childhood and a lot of time in Damascus, while Jaffa was very absent for me. I was a refugee. My parents became refugees from Jerusalem. They were kicked out from Jerusalem and then went to Amman, and I grew up there as a refugee. So Jaffa was there in a very weird sense, in a sense that my father is from Jaffa. He always talks about his city, but at the same time, the city is in absentia. I never saw it. I had to imagine it. And my father had a very difficult experience. Actually, it's the only time I saw my father crying in my whole life is when he tried to go to his house after 1967, when the Israelis occupied the rest of Palestine. He managed to get to Jaffa. He managed to get to his house in Jaffa, but the Israeli family who was there did not allow him in. He came back, and I, as a child or a teenager, I was very touched by the fact that he was not allowed into his house. So Jaffa is always there, always there. Actually, when people ask me, where are you from? It's very difficult for me to say I'm from Amman, I'm from Ramallah. Everybody, as you know, Palestinians refer to the city where their parents came from, where their father came from. So Jaffa it has a strong presence, but is a very strange presence to me. It's there and it's not there. It's very painful. I must say it is about the loss of something, the loss of Palestine. Now, this is Jaffa for me. It's a city that I never had the pleasure of living in it, you know, even though it's just 30 kilometers from Allah, but I can't get to that city, or if I get, it's very difficult. For the Palestinians, Jaffa, as you said, was the bride of the sea. They used to call it Arus al-Bahar. Jaffa actually was the biggest city in Palestine before 1948. It had a population of 100,000 people. It's a Mediterranean city, open, with cafes, with very important orange merchant, with a lot of nice houses, gardens. It was the most beautiful city in Palestine. And when you say Jaffa, I mean, people of Jaffa are very proud of being Jaffans. And so for us, Jaffa represents that lushness. And in my book, actually, I start with Jaffa as it was in 47. And then for now, you ask me, what is Jaffa now? Jaffa now is one of the saddest places you can ever go to, because of the 100,000 Palestinians that were in Jaffa in 1948, only 2,000 stayed in Jaffa. And Subhi, the one character of my book, is from Jaffa. And both of them are from Jaffa. So for me, it's about the situation of the Arabs today in Israel or under occupation. It's a city where the local community is very troubled, had lots of drug problems, has a lot of crime in it. So it's a very sad, it reflects, I mean, it reflects where we are now as Palestinians under occupation, or Palestinians in Israel.
As it used to be a symbol of Palestine then, before 48.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because of the orange commerce or mercantile, Jaffa in the 1947 used to export 30 million boxes of oranges. It was the biggest economy in the Middle East. So people from Lebanon came, people from Damascus came, people from Aleppo, from all the Arab world, from Egypt, but also small Italian communities, small Greek communities. So it was really a very typical open Mediterranean. Jaffa was the future of what Palestine could have been if we did not have, if we were not thrown out of our homeland. Really Jaffa for us is, when you say they always say, you know, the Jaffans, they walk with, you know, straight, with their very straight body and very proud. So it represents what happened to us as Palestinians.
We were speaking about the titles of your books. Menopausal Palestine, Golda slept here, so Golda Meir slept here. Sharon and My Mother-in-Law, your first book.
Yes.
Damascus was only Damascus as a title. Why this kind of title in the English suit and the Jewish cow? It's very, in a way, it's very funny and intriguing.
Yeah, well, listen, the titles really are a project on their own. They come to me. I must tell you, I never planned. So Sharon and My Mother-in-Law came to me. The English suit and the Jewish cow. As you know, both the British, the English or the British, had mandated Palestine, and they are the ones, like Trump today. It was Balfour that gave a promise to the Jewish people to have a homeland in Palestine. They had a mandate from 1921 until 47. So they had, until May 48, they had a big role in Palestine. It just happened by pure accident that the Subhi, the young boy in the book, the main character in the book, happens to have an English suit. And that English suit really became almost Palestine. The story of that suit, how happy he was to have it, how, you know, how he went around the city. We see the city actually through the eyes of this young boy. So the English suit, when I how did it came about that a man from Jaffa told me, go and meet my grandfather and ask him to tell you the story of the suit. And now I understood why he told me, go and have my grandfather tell you the suit. Because it represents, you go through the book, and here is a young boy happy with his suit, and then you know, the suit gets, I don't want to spoil the book, but the suit, the story of the suit is the story of what the British did to us. Now, the Jewish cow is also a little story of Shams, this little girl, you know, she is 15 years old, Shams is 13 years old. She is from Jaffa, she is from a little village, Salame. So there is a love story going on there. And the Jewish cow is the most absurd thing that happened in the book. Because here you have the loss of Palestine, you have the Jewish militia taking all of Palestine, towns and cities and villages and homes and living rooms and pianos and shops and boats and cars. They take everything, but then all of a sudden there is an interrogation about the cow that was slaughtered by the hungry refugees. And there is a whole interrogation to decide whether the cow is Jewish or Arab. And to me, this was so absurd, so absurd. So to me, this was like these two things, the suit and the cow, were the climax of the book as far as I'm concerned.
You were telling us that this is a story of Sophie and Shams, and it's a love story. Generally, in your books, you tell us your story in Ramallah, your story in Damascus, your story in Jerusalem.
Yep.
Jaffa is different. You are telling us a love story of two people in their 80s you met and you listened to. Mm-hmm. But you are a storyteller. So why you chose to write a love story of two other people and to give us this book, this love story?
Okay, let me tell you the following. I think we writers never know what will be coming out our next book. Really, we don't know. All I knew is that my father is from Jaffa, my husband is from Jaffa, I am from Jaffa. So the Jaffa is there. I wanted to write something about Jaffa. And I must admit to you that I with Salim went to Jaffa in the
Salim is your husband.
Salim is my husband, yes. And he is from Jaffa. And as you know, I don't know if I ever told you, I never, after my father's story, actually, I never went to look for our house in Jaffa. I did not have this emotion to go through an Israeli family living in my father's house and all of the above. But then I decided, listen, Saad, you have to face your history, you have to face your story, your personal story, you have to go and look for your parents' house. And also Salim's house, we know where it is. We know exactly where Salim's house. So I went there and we looked and looked and looked for my father's house and I couldn't find it. And then I went to meet some of the Palestinian community in Jaffa. And as you know, the scene is very sad there. They are a minority. And Israel actually, because Jaffa was part of the Arab state, what would become an Arab state with the partition plan, they did not change it for a long time, thinking maybe the partition plan would be forced on them. But what is happening today is Jaffa is being Judaized, is being taken by the Israelis, by Tel Aviv, and every day they are pushed into a smaller areas. Anyway, I came out of that trip thinking, Saad, you are not in a position to write anything about Jaffa. Really, I came and said, that's it. It was by pure accident that I came across these two people. One is Shams. Her grandchild took me to her because he saw I was very depressed. He said, come and meet her. So when I sat there, and this woman who is now 84 years old, a very, very, very peaceful woman, a very loving woman, a low voice. What would you like to have? She asked me so many questions. She had her grandchildren, her children around her. And I told her, listen, I want to hear about your story. Your niece told me about your story a little bit. She sat there and she started telling me the most incredible, it's a Greek tragedy. Her life is a Greek tragedy, really. There is a kid who is 11 years old who gets lost, who loses. I don't want to spoil the novel for anybody, but I sat down there stunned, not as if I am not a Palestinian that never heard anything. I realized at that point how little I knew of what happened in 1948 to us Palestinians, because we always shy to tell our story. We are always obsessed with the collective memory, but not with the personal memory. And here is a peaceful woman sitting, telling you about the losses, one loss after the other, one loss after the other. It's just like it's impossible. You would think that this woman should be bitter, should be angry, should be hateful. Nothing, nothing. There was such a contrast between what she said and what she lived. And for me, it was touching. Actually, I was crying.
Actually, you made me cry with your book. Telling the story of Shams.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shams means sun.
Yes, she was very sunny, I must say, very sunny.
And you tried to tell us the story of Palestine through their personal love story, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, it was. What was wonderful is the following: that I came across these two stories, as I told you. Subhi, who is 15 years old, who is a refugee in Jordan. His grandchild sends me to him and say, ask Jiddo about his bedli, ask my grandfather about his suit. So of course I go there to Subhi and I say, listen, I am here to ask you about your suit. He starts laughing. And then he went on telling me about his suit, how he got it, as a poor man from a rich man who he fixed a pump, and how proud he is. And then he started describing all his happiness about the suit. And it was him, actually. It was him that wrote the story, because it was him. He told me how happy he was to have the suit, go around Jaffa from one cafe to another, from this. Even the story of the prostitution house, I wasn't aware. So actually, I was just the tunnel in which I tunneled their voices. And I am happy actually that this time I did not tell my parents my father's house, because as sad as it is, my father died. I can't tell where the house is. I don't know if our house still exists. But these people made it, a substitute for me, because after all, human pain is human pain. It was a lovely story, because on the one hand, you have this love story happening, and it's a secretive love story, and there is the tension between a boy from Jaffa and the peasant girl, and they're very innocent, and there is this chance of meeting in the festival of Nabirubin, which is a very typical festival, August, like the Italian Ferro Agosto. 1 month of vacation in Jaffa. I also didn't know all of these things and how happy they were. So the story really, the climax of it is in this festival of it's called Nabirubin. And after they meet and he's in love and he's making the little children, kites, and the sky is full of kites and full of love. And the festival ends, And then the story starts, you know, the conflict between the Palestinians and the Jewish militia at that time. It wasn't Israel yet. So things sort of deteriorate, so is their love. So they made this book for me. I did not decide. It was a gift given to me, I must say.
A gift given to you, to your husband and to your father. You dedicated the book to your late father. But you decided to use another literary register. We know you for your irony. We know you for your funny stories, not only about cows, but for example, about dogs, your late dog Noura. We know you for the fact that you reach to tell us about the breaking news, also the Palestinian breaking news through irony. But when I read your book about the English suit and the Jewish cow, I didn't find your irony. You made me cry, Suad. This is new for me. And it's very beautiful, I have to say. Not only new, but very beautiful. Why?
Well, first of all, let me tell you something. I always say the following: there is nothing more serious than a joke. There is nothing more serious than a joke. And this is my motto. When I tell a joke, actually, I am telling the most tragic story that one can ever hear. I may disagree with you a little bit about the irony and because to me there was a lot of absurdity in the book, whether it's the suit, whether it's the cow, it's the character Habib, the prostitution scene. There is a lot of lightness. But I must also tell you that in Nakba, what happened to the Palestinians in 1948 is what we call in psychology the first wound that never heals. It's true, I wrote about Sharon and my mother-in-law, with my mother-in-law 92, and about 2002, I wrote about Jerusalem. But the Palestinians, we are stuck in 1948, the whole nation, not only me, emotionally, mentally, because the injustice that happened in 1948, that nobody listened to us, nobody knows our story, nobody, you know, we always have to prove ourselves that we exist. We were told this is a land where the Israelis formed a country on a land that has, you know, a people for a land with a land with no people. Nakba really is, if you want to understand the Palestinian, ask them what happened in 1948. And that's why the Israelis are us, and the Israelis will never come eye to eye until they acknowledge what happened in 1948. Not only the Israelis, the Europeans, the whole world does not want to hear our story. And maybe only today, as I am talking to you, when Netanyahu and Trump are trying to confiscate 30% of the West Bank, the world is starting to recognize what Israel is all about. There was a lot of sympathy for Israel in 1945. There was no space, no place, nor emotion, no ear, no eye for the Palestinian at that time, because of the history, because of the timing, because of what happened, the tragedy of the Jewish people in Europe. Nobody wanted to hear what they are doing to others. Nobody wanted to hear to the Palestinians. Nobody realized that we were the victims of what happened in Europe in the First World War and the genocide against the Jewish people. So we had no space, and we still don't have no space, because the paradigm that is thrown of us, that we are a continuation of people who don't like Israelis and don't like Jews, it's not true. We are a South African paradigm where you have a colonization, people who came and took your house, took your garden, took your shop, threw you out. You became a refugees, and the world doesn't want to listen to this. So that's why maybe it's a heavy book, because well, as you see me, when you talk about Nakba, you become emotional.
I see you. I see you. This is
Yeah.
the reason. Yes, there is irony inside the book, but of the same kind of irony I found in your other texts.
Also, maybe the age, cara Paola. Maybe
Yeah.
the age.
We are becoming old, I know.
Yeah, when you get older, I think you want to tell, it's not as easy to control your emotions as it was before. Maybe it's a political disappointment where you had hope that there will be peace with the Israelis, but when you see them, they continue and continue and continue to take your land. Then you say, basta, you know, I'm not going to be diplomatic. I'm not going to be, you know, think of what the other things. This is how I feel. This is my story. If you want to listen to me, tell it as it is, Suad.
Yes, I know. Although you were also a politician in one of the parts of the chapters of your life, and you were also a negotiator many years ago, right?
But this was pre-Oslo. This was between 1992, 1991, sorry, with Madrid conference. Until September 93, I was actually the only negotiating woman on the table with the Israelis in the State Department. So I know how unserious they were about negotiating with us, and we see the results today. But anyway, yes, there is many hats that I wear, you know. Sometimes
Yes, you say every time that you had the different chapters of your life, as an architect, as a writer, as a storyteller, as a political negotiator. I have to say that it seems to me that you wear the same dress or suit, and it's a patchy one with different parts on it. But time passes, and I think it passed also the time of the time of our very, not only lovely, but very intense interview, intense as your book, Storia di un abito inglese e di una buca ebrea. And I hope, published by Mondadori this time, and translated by the wonderful Sonia Follin. And I hope to meet you in person very, very soon in Italy.
I hope so. I really hope so. I am so much looking forward to being in Italy and meeting my lovely Italian readers. As you know, my books are always first published in Italian language before English, the language of which I write, and before even Arabic, my mother tongue. So Italy has a share in my heart.
And also the Italians have you in their hearts.
It's a mutual love, let's put it this way.
Yes, let's put it in this way.
And thank you so much, Paola. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to do things with you, really. And you know my style more than many people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Ma salama.
Ma salama. Ciao.
Ciao.